Attachment-based trauma is trauma that is relational in nature and consists of a caregiver who should be offering comfort and protection, but instead the child experiences them as a source of threat or significant harm. In these situations, children may experience what Mary Main termed fear without solution, which can result in the development of a number of defensive coping strategies later in life. What we know is that for children experiencing this kind of trauma, often that sense of fear remains, even when they're no longer in an unsafe environment. At school, for example, the autonomic arousal rate of these children has been measured, and despite the safety around them, their bodies often still remain on high alert. This can therefore mean it's a struggle to listen to what the teacher is saying, to sit still, and to do what's being asked of them, which can then open them up to a catalogue of misdiagnoses. It is a common myth that if you've been abused as a child, you will go on to abuse your own children. It's simply not true. The key to interrupting any intergenerational cycle of attachment trauma and or neglect is whether or not those experiences and the memories associated with them remain unresolved. When resolved, the brain has had the opportunity to file and process them correctly, and so, in very simple terms, they're sitting in the right place. These memories are still deeply saddening to recall, but the person remains much more in control of when they bring them into their conscious awareness. When unresolved, they are just loosely floating around, which means certain images, sights, sounds, smells can all trigger the memories and feelings associated with that trauma. So let's imagine that school child now becomes a parent themselves. We know that if their attachment trauma is unresolved, then it's likely that when their child's attachment system is activated and they are displaying a need, predominantly in the early years that's done by crying, then what can happen is rather than activating their caregiver system, instead the vulnerability and demand they see from their child can activate feelings associated with them being little and vulnerable and the trauma they experienced at those times. So instead of being able to offer sensitivity, comfort and protection in that moment, they may be paralysed by their own sense of fear, anger, abandonment and anxiety. And this is the response that they then bring to their infant in those moments. When this dynamic is at play, it can be a huge factor in understanding why a parent might be struggling in the way that they are. Fortunately, there are some wonderful therapeutic provisions that can be incredibly effective, such as EMDR. But these are rarely options available to the families we work with. And if we are to truly offer a service that strives to protect children and keep families together wherever possible, then this is something that really has to change.